Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video and welcome to round 5 of season 4 of our F1 Championship Edition career mode. Yes, we're back this weekend here for the European Grand Prix at the Nürburgring. Of course, if you missed out on the video that went live a few days ago from Imola, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out. Four races so far, 4 different winners this season, but it has been Michael Schumacher and consistency that has paid dividends so far. The German on 32 points, 8 clear of Giancarlo Fisichella. Kimi Räikkönen still in P3 ahead of Massa, Alonso and myself there, with both Hondas now just 1 point behind me in the World Championship standing. Already 12 drivers have scored points this season, which is pretty good going on F1 CE as well. Of course, if you're new, please do make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed to the channel. This weekend though, back at the Nürburgring, it's one of the AI's weaker tracks on the calendar. We need to get a big result today. Schumacher has been far too consistent to kickstart this season. We cannot afford to let him get too many points away. Well, the Nürburgring then inside F1 Championship Edition, very, very different to the Nürburgring I know and love in Formula 1, but all we can really hope for once again is that it doesn't rain this weekend. I'm starting to get a little bit nervous that we've had no wet races so far this campaign, because I don't want it to happen around some of the tracks we're very, very good at. You know, be it here, Magny-Cours, Indianapolis, or even Hungary, that I would expect to get a wet race right when we need a victory on the board. But yeah, we have finished all 4 Grand Prix so far this year. I really would want to make it 5 in a row this weekend, but of course anything can happen, as we've already seen on this game. To be honest, we've arguably been a bit lucky to survive the last 2.
Here we are once again at the Nürburgring for Saturday qualifying. As usual, we're expecting it to be as exciting and incident-filled as ever. So let's press on with session 1.
Well, of course, a lot of German support in Formula 1 back in the mid-2000s. Michael Schumacher, of course, kind of coming off the height of his powers, but, of course, he, Nico Rosberg, Nick Heidfeld, all on the grid. Ralf Schumacher as well. Be a bit awkward if I forgot my teammate inside this game, but obviously BMW, Sauber, McLaren, Mercedes as well. Of course, not the same works Mercedes team that we know and love today. But yeah, obviously, to be fair, Mercedes as well inside this game go really, really well around this circuit. It's just always Raikkonen. He never had any luck at German Grand Prix during his time in Formula 1. Staggering the amount of bad luck he did end up getting here. Anyway, out in Q1 then, let's try and get our first lap on the board. We're aiming for sub 1 minute 30s. Well, I would love to know some of the design decisions for this game back in the day, because some of the architecture around these circuits and the elevation is rather peculiar in quite a lot of places. In towards final chicane though, really got to try and send it through there. A nice run on the exit. Heidfeld is a 130.2, having a really, really strong season so far. Is Quick Nick. We are going to run a 29.2. That's competitive. Well, there we go then. I think the first time this season it has just been kind of the bottom 6 that you would expect to see all out in Q1. Scott Speed there narrowly missing out ahead of Liuzzi. Sato Montero, Albers, and will Yuji Ide finish a race this season? He's only a second away from anybody else in qualifying. Oh no, just trying to start my run in Q2, and immediately one of the Renaults has come out just in front of me. I don't mind it if they get on with it, but, you know, that car's competitive. But as long as he doesn't try and hold me up. Well, luckily, yep, the Renault has got on with it on their out lap. Luckily, the AI pretty much in qualifying will come out and only do qualifying laps, unless they're going to get in your way, and then they just become really, really stupid. A little bit of a mistake through that final corner, but as long as we're under 90 seconds again, I think we should be safe here. Power down towards the line. It's going to be a 29.5. I think that would have landed us P3 in Q1. Well, there we are then. That would have landed us P3 in Q1. It lands us P3 in Q2 then, so the time is very, very consistent early on this weekend. Heidfeld, Schumacher and Rosberg all out, though, in Q2, so a little bit disappointing for most of the Germans. It is going to be Michael Schumacher flying the flag in Q3. I haven't done my usual strategy then of plenty of fuel in the car to try and go long in the Grand Prix. In fact, if anything, I've gone with just under half a race stint's worth of fuel ready for this session, so I'm hoping we can try and put this thing right up towards the front. I mean, sensibly, I don't want to kind of get, you know, last-ditched effort 5 rounds into the season, But this weekend, we really need to try and win. Well, Montoya then fastest on the board with a 1:30.1. It's not unheard of for McLaren here to run a little bit light on fuel in qualifying to try and get their cars right up towards the front of the order. Massa, though, does a 29.7, so we've clearly got a bit of a dogfight going on right for the front spots. How will we fit into all of this? Well, Fernando Alonso, then, that is a ridiculously quick lap time on race fuel there. That's quicker than he's gone in any other session so far this weekend. Obviously, Montoya and I went quicker in Q1, but the fastest time in Q2 was a 29.5 there, so that is an insanely good lap from the Spaniard. There's no rain beginning to fall then, so this is going to be our one run in this session. We need to make sure that we nail this now. I don't know how quickly kind of that rain will almost flood the circuit, if you will, but changeable conditions then in qualifying. Here, I was not expecting that as we try and spot our braking point up in towards the final chicane. Oh, very, very aggressive over those curbs, but can we do the impossible then on a slightly slippery circuit? Get the power down out of the final corner. Where are we going to end up? It is only going to be P9 on the grid. I should have put more fuel in the car. Well, there we are then. Fernando Alonso pole position by just under 0.3 of a second ahead of Felipe Massa. Rubens Barrichello once again in his Honda up in P3, just ahead of Juan Pablo Montoya there. Schumacher will line up 5th, just ahead of his main title rival in Giancarlo Fisichella. But we have got a lot of work to do from P9.
Lining up on pole is Fernando Alonso. Second on the grid is Felipe Massa. Rubens Barrichello is just behind them in 3rd. Juan Pablo Montoya completes row 2. 5th is Michael Schumacher. Giancarlo Fisichella is next to him in 6th. 7th spot on the grid for Kimi Räikkönen. Jenson Button rounds off the top 8.
Well, the team reckon the goal this weekend then is just to try and make sure we get back into the points. I wonder if the AI knows something here that I don't know after qualifying. Whether they all fueled light because rain is expected earlier on in the GP. But for us, though, you know, we've got to do what we can do. Obviously, the only time we've really started around this position was back in Sepang, and that ended up being a really good race for us. So, hoping we get the same kind of story today.
Don't go anywhere. Turn up the volume and enjoy. Here we go. Go!
Oh, reacted really nicely to the lights that time. Oh, no.
So does Massa.
Let's see what we can do into T1.
The field is tightly packed as they head towards the first corner.
Well, that was actually not my intention.
Behind him is Massa. Next is Barrichello.
Oh, well, I'd never actually intended to try and do that against Barrichello there. I wanted to slot in behind him off the start of the Grand Prix, but I guess we can't complain then. Up 6 spots off the start of the GP there as Alonso and Massa, of course, the 2 drivers that struggled last weekend at Imola, immediately making their presence known once again here. But we've got 4 cars from 4 different teams then up inside the top 4 at the start of the GP. But yeah, we certainly cannot complain with that.
You should have optimum grip levels now.
At least we've navigated a lot of the traffic I was worried about trying to navigate earlier on in the GP. Like I've mentioned before, though, the big goal is to make sure that we're beating whoever is the World Championship leader. That, of course, is currently Michael Schumacher. His main rival, Fisichella, a little bit further behind. And I got no idea where Räikkönen in. So we try and navigate our way, though, in towards Sector 3. Barrichello is not going to give me much space to breathe. Why would you expect him to? Of course, Honda are main championship rivals as well in the Constructors. I'm just praying I don't get dive-bombed and don't miss my braking point into there too many times. We've survived lap 1, though. I don't think we can really complain about it. Alonso and Massa already pulling away, however. But I hope they're on quite low fuel. We've lost 1 car. I believe that might be a Toro Rosso. So at least UGE Days survived. Let's get a grid rundown.
The field looks like this. Alonso leads. Massa is 2nd. You're 3rd. Barrichello 4th. He's lost a place from his starting position. Michael Schumacher 5th. Montoya 6th. He slipped down from 4th. 7th is Button. He's moved up from 8th. And Fisichella 8th.
Great first sector. That's the fastest time you've set so far.
Yeah, Räikkönen 3rd in the World Championship right now. The winner back in Bahrain. Nowhere inside your top 8 at the moment. So I would assume he's down in P9. Haven't actually spotted the gap to Alonso and Massa. Let's just try and start bringing that down. There's already then oil somewhere on the circuit. Is it going to be very awkwardly positioned up through here? Nope, but I'm going to make a mistake anyway. Try and get it going again. There's the oil. So that probably would have caught me out. Maybe we didn't do such a bad thing there by spinning, because we could have ended up in the wall otherwise, as annoyingly we've lost 3 places. So even more that we've got to try and fight our way back through. Oh no, I think the Super Aguras have come together at some point, because one of them's very slow on the circuit, and the other one seems to be out of the Grand Prix there. I think they're both gone. So Ide is at his 5th DNF this season. It really has been a terrible start. He's had about 10 racing laps this year. Again, we got more oil down in the final couple of corners. Whereabouts is that? Yep, right on the racing line in a big traction zone. Say, it never affects the AI, it only affects the human. Hence why I try to avoid them like the plague. We have got good pace though. We're going quicker than Schumacher and Montoya. So let's just try and really put our head down and get on with it.
Alonso leads. Massa is second. Third is Barrichello. Fourth, Michael Schumacher. Montoya 5th. You're 6th. Fisichella 7th. And Button 8th.
Yep, another oil stick as well. Oh no.
And the temperature has dropped quite markedly. It's still dry at the moment, but there's a possibility of rain before this race is over.
Well, there we go then. We've really got to hope that the AI have not gone long on their fuel, because we will only get just past half distance here. Martin Brundle expecting rain by the end, but it hasn't started yet. But I think this race could genuinely come down to tyre strategy and when you make your pit stop in this Grand Prix. Like I said, we will run the tank dry if we think there's any opportunity of making a switch straight to the intermediates for the second half of the afternoon. I don't get how, but Michael Schumacher must be running 128s in race trim. Either he's just that good, but why was his qualifying lap so bad? We are pushing like crazy and making next to no progress. I really want to start seeing that rain rolling in any time about now, although actually no I don't. I want to see the AI pit and then the rain roll in. I believe it was one of you guys commented on one of the videos saying that if it starts raining, you have to wait one more lap, and then you can box for instance. So we just got to try and remember that. If the rain arrives, and we can make it that far, because I'm still worried about the fuel, we have not got much left. There we go, Felipe Massa and I believe Juan Pablo Montoya both into the pit lane then. So starting to see the AI make the switch now, ready for the second half of the Grand Prix. Maybe they don't believe the rain's going to arrive. Maybe they just don't have enough fuel. But either way, if everybody pits before that rain and we can make it, we'll be in a really good spot. Well, there we go, Rubens Barrichello and I believe his former teammate in Michael Schumacher both into the pit lane as well then. So Fernando Alonso still staying out there.
Barrichello is second.
You've only got enough fuel to get around a couple of laps. You might want to think about pitting.
Yep, I know we need to, but we're just trying to wait for the rain. This, I think, is the lap we want the rain to start falling. That way we can make it to the next one. So then into the pit lane, and yeah, we just cannot sensibly go any further. I do not want to run out of fuel next time round. And if the rain starts falling now, I'm going to be really, really disappointed. But we will... Oh, no! Just get held up in the pit lane there from Fernando. I thought we might get the jump on him. Let's just see what we can do. Make sure we get all those tyres on. Come on, I'm pressing the buttons. They just don't register. It's really, really annoying. So that is going to be a terrible pit stop then. 12, 13, 14 seconds. Deary me, man.
Is third. Barrichello 4th. Michael Schumacher 5th. He's moved up from 8th. You're 6th. 7th is Button. And in 8th is Cooper. He's down from 5th.
While your tyres are blue, don't go crazy. Wait till they're green and you have optimum traction.
Well, on a weekend where we've got similar pace to the AI, but certainly not better pace, that has been a hammer blow to our hopes there. A really slow pit stop, and now we're not even in the points. But there we go, our last couple of cars then into the pit lane, so we should be back up into P8 then, as long as we haven't been jumped by Kimi Räikkönen. I think we should still be able to get back to 5th here, just ahead of Montoya, but it is not going to be easy. I am basically hoping it doesn't rain, or if it does, the AI pit and we don't. That's what we're banking on. No, oh, I picked up a slowdown. Yeah, there you go. That's going to ruin us even more. Got to try and keep Raikkonen back. No! Oh, man. Great. Love that. Thank you.
Michael Schumacher. Montoya 5th. Fisichella 6th. 7th is Button. You're 8th.
I think it's another back marker again, though, out of the Grand Prix. No, it might have been... I've got no idea who it was, but there's oil down somewhere. I think it was a car further behind. But yeah, we need to try and get back past Kimi. On the one hand, yeah, I'm a bit of a moron trying to wiggle around there to keep him at bay. On the other hand, he did just pit maneuver me into the pit lane. No! Oh, you idiot. You absolute idiot. Really trying to push towards the end of the afternoon, and it's going to be for naught. We were just on qualifying laps over and over to try and just keep up with Kimi Raikkonen late on in the day, and another little mistake. I'm hoping we should still come home for P9, but where on earth is that rain that Brundle was talking about? I've never had that before on this game, where it said it's going to rain and then it just doesn't. But it looks like it might go a third race straight without scoring points here, and that is gutting.
Massa is 2nd. 3rd is Barrichello. 4th, Michael Schumacher. Montoya 5th. Fisichella 6th. 7th is Button. And Raikkonen is 8th.
Well, when you've got those top 4 teams all delivering what they need to, it is so difficult to try and break in with them. You know, this Toyota is the 5th fastest car inside this game, but, you know, that is still a tall order, especially on the hard difficulty. And again, I think we're just going to try and bring it home.
Race leader Alonso has started his final lap. Behind him in 2nd is Massa.
Fernando Alonso is on his final lap. Looks like he can take the win.
Well, Fernando Alonso then looks dead set to become our 5th different winner from the opening 5 Grand Prix. I don't know what it is about this game, but it really does throw up some surprises.
Looks like this. Alonso leads. Massa is 2nd. 3rd is Barrichello. 4th, Michael Schumacher. Montoya 5th. Fisichella 6th. 7th is Button. And Raikkonen is 8th.
Well, I realised as soon as I said that, of course, Alonso won back in Sepang, so we will see our first repeat winner of the season, I should say, this weekend. But yeah, apart from those 2 wins, he's been a little bit anomalous so far this year, has Fernando. But all I can really hope is that putting these good drives in, making sure we're getting to the checkered flag, you know, week in, week out, maybe one of those top 4 teams fancies the chances with us. Maybe, you know, we could replace Fisichella or get a drive for BAR. You know, I'd even take an option at McLaren at the moment, just to give ourselves that little bit of an extra boost. But so difficult when you're kind of getting everything you can out of the car, but not kind of outdoing it almost, because those 4 teams are so much more competitive. I mean, we're putting about 20 seconds on Ralf Schumacher at the moment. We've beat him, what, in 4 of the 5 races so far this year, and only Australia when we had a disaster.
First place and earns a well-deserved 10 points. Massa will hang on to finish in 2nd.
Oh, there we go. Looks like Honda as well getting their 3rd P3 finish in a row, so that team as well very competitive. And could we see Button or Barrichello maybe claim victory in the not too distant future? Through the final corners though, here from the Nürburgring, a tough day yet again. Our 3rd race in a row without points. We really are giving it all though.
It's been a captivating weekend here at the Nürburgring. Plenty of action, plenty of surprises. It's been a brilliant weekend of racing here in Germany. The tens of thousands of F1 fans that travel here from all over Europe have seen a great spectacle today, and they'll be going home happy. I've enjoyed it immensely, and we hope you have too. We'll see you again in only 7 days' time in Barcelona, where the 2005 world champion Fernando Alonso will be looking to seal a home victory in front of his loyal fans. Until next week, goodbye and take care.
Well, there we are then, having a look at the World Championship standings. Michael Schumacher now with a 10-point buffer still ahead of Giancarlo Fisichella, but behind him, Alonso and Massa both on 26 points as well, so things still looking very tight at the top of the table. We are down to P8 though overall, behind both of those Honda cars. They're still tied with Juan Pablo Montoya. Constructors wise, yeah, and a pretty lonely P5 as well, at the moment there. Ferrari still with a 10-point lead over Renault. McLaren still in third ahead of Honda as well. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll be back very soon ready for the Spanish Grand Prix.